This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
All right, time to recap some of the Super Wildcard weekend. Maria Taylor alongside Mike Florio, Matthew Berry, and Jason Garrett. Let's start with the 6-seed Giants upsetting the Vikings. Florio, I lend the floor to you. This is your moment.
I can't say I didn't expect it, although I thought the Vikings would find yet another way to win a close game. And it felt early on like the Giants were going to pull away. Coach, you were saying they couldn't stop them. There was nothing going on defensively for Minnesota, and that's something they're going to need to address in the offseason. But the Vikings just hang around there. When you've got that offense, Kirk Cousins, even though it wasn't a great game, kept it going, kept it moving. T.J. Hawkinson getting a lot of catches because Justin Jefferson was blanketed so aggressively by the Giants, who were hitting him every chance they could get. I thought the Vikings would pull off the win if it was a close one. Kudos to the Giants, and especially Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, we've really kind of seen him mature before our eyes this year. Contract year, they didn't pick up the fifth-year option. He became the guy they thought he'd be when they drafted him in the first round in 2019.
Daniel Jones became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 300 yards, run for over 70 yards, and throw 2 or more touchdown passes in a playoff game. Coach, I know you worked with this guy. This is just a great story for Daniel Jones.
I love Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has had a challenging environment throughout his career up to this point. Give credit to Joe Shane and Brian Daboll to create a better environment for him. They tried to address the offensive line. Obviously, getting Saquon Barkley back has been big for them. But Daniel Jones has played fantastic all year long, and he's taken on more of the burden as this season has gone on. In the last month of the season, he's done more and more in the passing game, and today he was fantastic, throwing the ball and then running 17 runs in this game, and not many of them design runs, most of them scrambles. He put the team on his back, and he carried this team to the divisional round.
You know what? And it's also, by the way, it's one thing to, because you compare him to Kirk Cousins, right? And on the other side of the ball, you've got Kirk Cousins, who's got T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. And over here, Daniel Jones is throwing to Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James. So credit again to Daboll and the entire coaching staff and Daniel Jones making these guys. Isaiah Hodgins was a free agent 2 months ago, Mike. And, you know, the Giants just from start to finish, I felt like were the better coached team.
A lot of great young receivers coming out in the draft every year. Free agents may be available, and that'll be an attractive destination for guys who want to go somewhere, get some big numbers, especially if they keep Saquon Barkley. He's going to be a free agent as well. But you have the running game, you have Daniel Jones, and you can be a very attractive place for receivers.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, go for it.
I've been around football for a long, long time as a player and as a coach. Daniel Jones is arguably one of my favorite people I've ever been around in football. This guy's his toughness, the kind of leader he is for his teammates, his work ethic, the example he sets. He's a rare guy, and it's so fun to see him have the success he's having and really be responsible for the success that team is having.
And he was a guy that, you know, has gotten a lot of criticism over the years, and it hasn't always been the smoothest road for him in New York. That's not easy. Coming to New York, replacing a Super Bowl legend in Eli Manning, and comes in and so it's a great moment for Daniel Jones. And I want to talk about the other side of the ball. How do you get Justin Jefferson only one catch in the second half? I get that he's bracketed. I get that he's double teamed. I don't care. He's Justin Jefferson. In a game in which you're trailing, Mike Florio, how do you not find a way to get 18 the ball more than once in the second half?
Yeah, thank you so much for focusing on that. I think back to the Bills game when it was 4th and 18, and Kirk Cousins came out of the huddle. He told Peter King this after the game. He said, I'm told Justin Jefferson, I'm throwing it to you.
Sure.
And we saw it before the play. Justin Jefferson split wide to the right. Kirk Cousins looks that way. That's one of those moments. If you're going to trust him on 4th and 18 in Buffalo, you got to trust him with the season on the line. You got to throw it to him, and you got to hope and believe that he's going to go make the play. And I still don't understand what happened on that play. Short of the sticks, season on the line, it's just disappointing. When you have a talent like Justin Jefferson, because I don't want to get too far down the road, but you have too many moments like that, and all of a sudden Justin Jefferson becomes the next Stephon Diggs that wants a new quarterback to throw the ball to him.
One of the criticisms of Cousins throughout his NFL career has been he won't throw to a guy unless he's open. Like, he won't throw a guy open. And so Justin Jefferson is one of those guys that's like, give him a 50-50 ball. Let Justin Jefferson make a play. Like, there aren't a ton of guys in the NFL that you can say that, but he's one of those guys, Coach.
It seemed like they were intentional early on in the game, getting Justin the ball. He had 5 or 6 catches in the first half. But then after that, the Giants gave him more attention. And I agree with you guys. He's the guy they have to get the ball to. He's their best playmaker. Disappointing for the Vikings.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson came into the game with over 1,800 yards, almost 130 receptions. I mean, that's top 10 all time. So he's the type of receiver you want to see the ball in his hands, especially late in games. But now the Giants, they get the victory. Your reward is the Philadelphia Eagles, the #1 seed in the NFC. Do they have a chance, Jason? Your thoughts?
Absolutely, they have a chance. You know, the way they're playing, they've done a great job playing the style of game they want to play. A little bit different against Minnesota. Minnesota has struggled all year long defending the pass. The Giants exploited that. I'm not so sure it's going to be the same in Philadelphia. They're certainly a better defense than Minnesota is. But the Giants have done a good job crafting the game each week to fit what they need to do to win the game. I expect them to see a lot of Saquon Barkley and a lot of Daniel Jones running the football.
By the way, that defense for the Giants getting healthy, Adoree Jackson back for this game, that was a huge part for the Giants secondary. And we don't know how healthy Jalen Hurts is. Like, he gimped through that Week 18 game for the Eagles, but he did not look like the guy we saw earlier in the year.
This one takes me back, and Coach Garrett will relate. Matthew, you're probably close enough to our age. Pat Summerall, Tom Brookshire, CBS, those NFC East games, late afternoon, everybody playing on that god-awful green concrete they used to play on. But this reminds me of that. And also I think back to past divisional rounds of the past 10, 15 years. Giants lost to the Eagles in 2008 when the Giants were the 1 seed. And then the Cowboys lost to the Giants 2007 when the Cowboys were the 1 seed. So it's a dangerous spot. Anytime you're playing a team from your division, they're not intimidated. They're not afraid to go into that stadium. They do it every year, and they welcome that opportunity to knock you out.
If I was the Eagles, that's the last team I'd want to see because they know them well. They're not going to be scared. I'm with you.
Thanks for taking us back to the 8-track, by the way.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Pat
Track
Summerall?
reel to reel. That's reel to reel.
Real editing. Go ahead,
It was real. You know, there's so many great rivalries in the NFC East. So you can go to every team. There's great rivalries that go back a long, long way. But I agree with you. The Philly New York football Giant rivalry, just going up and down that New Jersey Turnpike. You know, it's going to be a bloodbath down there in Philly. They know each other well, and I think the Giants know how to win the game. Philly's a better team. They should win the game. It's going to be fun to watch.
All right, Giants, we're going to let you enjoy this, your first playoff win since going on that Super Bowl run, so it's got to feel good. It's been just over a decade. Let's shift gears to the Bills and the Dolphins because it was a little bit of a nail-biter in Orchard Park. Matthew, what was your takeaway from the Bills kind of eking one out at home?
Yeah, super sloppy on both sides of the ball, right? But we sort of expected that with Skylar Thompson, a 7th-round rookie, making the start at Buffalo. But Josh Allen, 2 interceptions and a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Like, they gave up 7 sacks, the Bills did. And so I think if you were a Bills fan, you breathe a sigh of relief. But you got to be nervous about this because, like, that game was a lot closer, Coach, than it should have been.
Yeah, it's all about lessons learned. And it's best to learn the lessons when you win in the playoffs and keep going and play the next week. You know, to me, the lesson is when the Bills have played their worst, it's too much Josh Allen. This guy's as capable as anybody, but they're better when they're balanced. They're better when they're running it. They're better when there's not such a burden on him where he feels like he has to make all the plays. That's when they get sloppy. So I think trying to get balanced, trying to spread it around a little bit, and certainly taking care of the ball, you know, that's critical for them going forward.
Well, and when you get that lead, you know, the 17-point lead used to be insurmountable, and now it's like the kiss of death. and you've just got to be able to deliver the knockout punch and not become complacent. And the Bills kind of slip into that mode. And you see this with teams with great quarterbacks. They rely so much on the quarterback that the rest of the offense doesn't flourish the way it should. They have something in James Cook, the younger brother of Dalvin Cook. They need to embrace that. When they have a lead, they just need to grind it out and just take advantage of that opportunity and take the game over. I give the Dolphins a ton of credit, though.
Sure.
Skylar Thompson going in there undeterred. They did some dumb things. There were way too many times they were winding the play clock down to 0. It's like, what's going on with this offense today? But to hang in there and play the way they did in that environment when nobody expected them to win, I thought that was impressive.
Really impressive. By the way, and think about this. I mean, a couple of bad drops by Jalen Waddle, a bad one by Tyreek Hill in the first half as well. I mean, if their playmakers make plays, I think Skylar Thompson's day looks even better. Like, through the bad pick, and, you know, but still, like, he played a lot better than I think a lot of people thought he was going to on the road at Buffalo.
Oh, my God. We thought it was going to be a bludgeoning.
Yeah.
And for them to 34-31 with a chance to win the game at the end of the game, Give that whole coaching staff a lot of credit. Give Skylar Thompson some credit because he had some disappointing plays early on. He had some turnovers. He hung in there and gave the Dolphins a chance at the end.
Yeah, he shrugged it off. 7th-round pick out of Kansas State. I mean, just making a start in a playoff and really was not really scared after making those mistakes, like Jason said. But the Bills, they get the victory. We'll wait to see who they have to host. But if a 17-point...
One last thing about the Bills, though, I will say that one thing that was a positive of the Bills, because there's a lot of negative that you can sit there and like they barely squeak by. But Gabe Davis stepped up. Cole Beasley returning the team, right? Yeah, big game, Gabe, and Cole Beasley returning the team. He scores the touchdown. He had some key receptions as well. So they've been looking for guys outside of Stephon Diggs to step up in that passing game, and they found some today.
Yeah. Okay. If a 17-point deficit is a kiss of death, then what is a 27-point lead?
Yeah. Well,
because we got to talk about the Chargers and Jaguars. We got to have a conversation. Man. What are we calling that now?
I don't know, but Brandon Staley's farewell. I still don't know what they're going to do after this. I don't know if anybody with that organization knows what to do after this. I think they'd like to just get some distance from it and hope clarity emerges. But I can't say I've never seen anything like it because we saw 33-0 this year. We've seen big comebacks. But in the playoffs, when you've got the game won and you're not running the ball as often as you need to, you're not taking the clock all the way down to 0 before you take every snap. I mean, that's where you shorten the game as much as you can. Anybody that plays Madden knows when you get into burn the clock mode, it's inexcusable to throw the ball as much as they did. Or, you know, if they don't do that, it's never even close for the Jaguars.
27-0 league, but here's what's shocking to me is they had 5 turnovers. Lawrence throws 4 picks plus the punt fumble that they get. 5 turnovers. I actually would say 27 points isn't enough when you're getting 5 turnovers in a playoff game in the first half, Coach. I feel like the Chargers weirdly didn't capitalize enough on 5 turnovers, and it ultimately came back to bite them.
Well, there's so much to talk about.
I mean, it's insane, right? But, like, think about that.
I'm just glad Coach Dungy was doing the game and we weren't around him because he goes crazy in those kinds of situations. We talked about Pudge Heffelfinger last night. You know, we talked about the ball. The turnover statistics in the NFL are overwhelming. If you're +1, you win 60%. You're +2, it's in the mid-70s. +3, +5 in a game, it's astronomical through the history of football. You never lose that game. They didn't take advantage of enough, but once they had it, they're up 27-0. The Chargers run 33 more plays. 8 of those plays are runs. Yeah. 8 runs, 25 passes in their last 33 plays. If they run it half the time, there's not going to be enough time for Jacksonville to come back. And you talk about lessons learned, that's the lesson learned.
I mean, they have one of the best in the NFL in Austin Eckler. They've gotten some nice run out of Josh Kelly as well in that on that side of the ball. This is one of the things I said when you and I were making our game picks, Mike. I said in a close game, give me Doug Peterson over Brandon Staley. So I'm taking the Jaguars, and that ended up being true. I mean, like, give Doug Peterson a lot of credit for keeping his young quarterback and his young team in the game. You're down 27-0, but they never lost focus. They didn't lose hope, and they kept grinding back.
And they get the gift of the Joey Bosa slammed helmet to the ground after the touchdown, decided to go for 2. When you've got a 6'6" quarterback, you just have him go over the top. It's easy, and then a field goal wins it. And then on that 4th and short, when he calls the timeout and he brings out, I texted you, the Pudge Heffelfinger alignment with the 3 backs in the backfield. And he explained it very simply. When they're outside, you go inside. When they're inside, you go outside. And that was the beauty of it. They were lined up to shut down a sneak, and they popped it around the edge, and that was the play that ended the game.
You know, we've been talking about head coach leadership all year long, and the leadership that Doug Peterson has provided that Jacksonville team has been fantastic. They lost 5 games in a row in the middle of the season. They were 3-7 at the bye. He's been around. He has credibility with the players. He's a veteran guy. He just says, hey, hang in there. And they win 6 out of 7 down the stretch. When he does the interview at halftime and says, we just got to chip away. We just got to chip away. We got to chip away. Trevor Lawrence listens to that and executes that. He was phenomenal in the second half, but it was the leadership and coaching of Doug Peterson that made the difference in this game.
Peterson probably won't win Coach of the Year, but he needs to be in that conversation. What he's done with the Jaguars and to have them in this position is incredible. By the way, I want to give a moment here. How about the front office of the Jacksonville Jaguars? Last year in free agency, when you're reporting, a lot of people saying, like, why'd you give all that money to Christian Kirk? Why'd you sign Zay Jones? Evan Ingram, he can't stay healthy. I can't believe you're signing all these guys. All three of them had huge games against the Chargers and were a reason why they moved on to the next round.
That Christian Kirk contract looked crazy until all the other receivers started getting
right.
paid. Then it made a lot of sense. But, yeah, you bring in, you build around. It's different what the Chicago Bears did with Justin Fields. They got a young quarterback. They really couldn't have done anything to build around him. The Jaguars had the cash to spend. They did it. They built around the young quarterback, and it's paid off.
Look, a team that was last in the league in scoring just a season ago, they move on now to a divisional round. It's impressive to see the Jaguars, what they've been able to do with Doug Peterson. And we heard Trevor Lawrence say, too, in the second half, he's like, it just wasn't going to be me. I wasn't going to be the reason why we weren't going to advance. So some maturity being shown, too, by that second-year quarterback. Well, that's our recap so far for the Super Wildcard Weekend. We will see you at Football Night in America. Florio's going to travel with us for the divisional round. It'll be our last game of the season. Can't wait to see you there.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.